It was a seemingly normal day at work. A policeman found a poor baby inside the garbage breathing very badly, and 25 years later, the policeman was surprised to receive a call. They found out how the baby had ended up in the trash, and it was super curious. Michael Good was born in the state of California. He has always been a kind-hearted man and very determined in the things he did. He was a police officer for years, and on one day, on a certain morning on November 21, 1989, the man was driving through some neighborhoods. On his shift, he had the habit of driving the car very slowly to be aware of everything that was going on. Suddenly, the officer was startled by a strange noise. By then, there were no longer many people on the street that morning, and that triggered Michael's inner alertness. He decided to follow the sound, and as he got closer, the sound got louder and louder. The policeman decided to get out of the car to go to the scene calmly. After all, he wasn't sure what was going on. He followed the noise to a corner that was well known for having robberies and other even colder crimes, and that was already a cause for concern for the officer. He kept his hand close to his holster and went to an even greater state of alertness, on the lookout for anything that might happen. As soon as he returned to the corner, Miguel was surprised to see a group of people who seemed to be very distressed. They ran towards the policeman and he asked them to explain what was happening. One of the women who was with the group, already with tears in her eyes, pointed towards the dumpster that was a few meters away from everyone. She walked towards the large metal structure, and as she walked, she began to hear sounds similar to what she was hearing from the other corner. At first, he thought it was a cat from the small sounds he heard. As Michael got closer and closer, he began to wonder why people hadn't gotten that baby out of there. He was extremely weak, but he was still breathing, which was very important. After all, Michael still had a chance to save the baby. He started crying a lot and struggling because he still had a certain amount of trash and dirt covering him. He definitely couldn't believe his eyes and began to think about how cruel someone had been to the point of doing that to a poor creature. The man took a deep breath to organize his thoughts and made a decision about the situation. Michael slowly and carefully pulled the baby out of the trash-filled metal structure. He was relieved to see that the baby was still showing vital signs, but there was something strange. The baby was breathing more slowly than usual, but he concluded that it was due to the length of time that he had been practically suffocated by the garbage bags. She called the emergency services and did not let go of the child for a minute and held him securely in her arms. Within minutes, the ambulance arrived. Michael felt he could not leave the helpless child alone. So he did what his heart told him to do and climbed into the emergency vehicle with the paramedics and kept an eye on the little boy the whole time. On the way to the hospital, the policeman decided to name the precious boy Adam. The doctor did several examinations and tests to see if the child was okay, and after all, what the policeman feared most was that the baby had contracted some disease from spending so much time among various types of garbage. Fortunately, although he had spent hours in contact with materials that posed a risk to a newborn, no illness was found. Michael made sure he was treated very well and went every day to visit him. Little by little, Adam was gaining strength and regaining his health. He was finally ready for a new home, and little Adam was adopted by a couple named Elizabeth Leinard and Daniel Fernandez, who named him Robin. He grew up in a loving home and enjoyed his childhood, but there was one thing that troubled the little boy. He always wondered what had happened to him as a child. One day, Robin's adopted parents thought it was the perfect time to tell him what had happened to him as a baby. They knew that this police officer was special and had a good heart because the day he was rescued, the officer went above and beyond the call of duty. Michael never forgets that fateful day. He went on with his life in police work, but from time to time he wondered what had happened to the baby he had rescued from the dumpster. After serving for years on the police force, he retired. It wasn't easy, but Robin, along with his adoptive parents, managed to locate Officer Michael, and they made contact for the first time through a phone call and set up a meeting. The young man was extremely happy but at the same time apprehensive. After all, he was going to meet the person who saved his life, and the meeting made him nervous. Robin wanted to understand why he had cared so much about the baby he rescued. Officer Michael had also been abandoned as an infant. Robin was extremely grateful, and he didn't even have enough words to thank his rescuer. The young man explained that even though he had never met his mother, he saw that he wanted to personally forgive her for her abandonment. So he asked Michael for help to see if the former officer still had contacts with the police, could track her down and help him find her. Michael agreed to help find him, mostly because he thought it was a very nice gesture on his part. A few months after the request, Robin received an unexpected call from Michael, who with great sadness in his voice told her about the sad discovery he had made about his mother. She tried to murder someone, and that has this woman behind bars. She abandoned Robin at the dump when she was 19 years old, after attempting to murder someone and serving her sentence. Then she was deported to her home country. Upon hearing all that information, Robin fell into tears, only wishing he had the opportunity to meet her in person. It was extremely difficult for Robin to accept all that, but Michael and his biological parents were there to support him at the time. But there was still hope for forgiveness. Michael had gotten Sabrina's phone number and Robin's call to her birth mother. Michael was very happy to hear that everything had gone well and that Robin could finally move on. The police officer and Robin continued to keep in touch through phone calls and social media and became good friends. What makes Officer Michael happiest is that he didn't count on the fact that almost 30 years after the event, would he be able to help Robin again. Don't forget to do the best for your fellow man in any way you can. Police officers aren't always tough like many people preach. Did you like today's video? Leave your opinion or message in the comments. Thanks for being with us. See you soon.